I'm Austin Lugo.
I'm Andrew Arp.
This is With Nothing to Say.
Let's talk about The Color of Money.
All right. Next week, we're going to be watching Nightmare Alley by Edmund Golding, 1947. I have seen the 2021, 2022. When did the Guillermo del Toro one come out? I've seen that one.
I think it was 21.
Yeah, I think it was 21 too here. No, I didn't want to see it. Nightmare Alley. Yeah, 2021. So I have seen the Guillermo del Toro one, but I have not seen the original. But I'm excited to see it. And I know it's one of Guillermo del Toro's favorite films. So be good. I haven't seen any Edmund Golden stuff. Have you?
No,
Do you think Edmund Golden's related to William Golding? They have the same last name. Probably not.
probably not.
All right, but this week we watched The Color of Money, the Martin Scorsese film. Definitely during his most cocaine period. I mean, not like movie wise, just like life
I don't
wise.
really, I mean, I don't know if he was really doing, was he? I mean, he probably was.
I think he was.
Um, 80s weren't like his best. Like after Raging Bull, it's like
I say he had a bit of a
he,
slump.
yeah, it's like a slump in terms of like I think critical and like money
Hmm.
wise.
Yeah.
Um, because he makes Raging Bull in 1980, and it's great. But then he makes King of Comedy, After Hours, and The Color of Money. And then in '88 he made his Jesus movie, which I still haven't seen. But
Still
then
haven't
in
seen it.
'90 he made Goodfellas.
Right.
So a lot of people would probably say that like, oh, Scorsese's back with Goodfellas, because it's
He's back, baby.
yeah, it's maybe I guess like a return to form, like kind of like with Mean Streets. Like he made Mean Streets. It's
Hmm.
kind of like him returning to like the gangster movie thing from that he did with like Mean Streets, right?
Yeah.
Um, and I love Goodfellas. But I mean, I also like King of Comedy and After Hours and Color of Money too. Like they're great. And the thing about Color of Money is that like I think it was successful. Like Paul Newman won a Oscar for Best Actor for it,
Okay.
which
So I
I don't
had
know
some
if it's like
success.
yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's like his best performance. It seems like they probably just like gave it to him because like at
It's
that
Paul
point,
Newman.
yeah, like they were kind of like, well, you're the man, so like you've kind of like proven yourself to be like one of the greatest actors, so we're just gonna like give it to you now for this movie, even if it's not his best performance, but he's really good in it. So
I was looking before this movie began, the movies I'd actually seen Paul Newman in, and I've only seen him in five movies, which are Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, Cars, The Color of Money. What are the other movies? Cool Hand Luke,
Julian Luke, he's really good, and I've seen the movie as well.
and something else here. I don't even know what else I've seen him in. But I haven't actually seen, like, even though Paul Newman's been in over 120 movies, I've actually seen very little of Paul Newman, which is disappointing because he's so good. I mean, everything I've seen him in, he's just
Yeah, he's really
so
cool.
magnificently amazing.
He's a really cool guy.
And I like old man Paul
Yeah,
too. Like I love how him
no, he's
just like
awesome.
being an old man, he's just so like handsome and charming.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I think honestly he's probably one of the best parts of this film. I mean, not that
Well,
there
the
aren't a
movie's
lot of
really
good
about
things to say
him.
about it. See that I didn't expect that. I
Yeah,
going into
it's
this
really
movie,
like
yeah,
when the movie ends, you realize like, wow, like it really kind of was all about Paul Newman. Because yeah, that's like the thing about the movie that I think is really cool is that like I would say like overall it is a pretty like boilerplate like sports movie, of
sure.
course. But then by the time it ends, you're just like, oh, okay, like really the character that undergoes the most by the end, it just feels like a movie all about like Eddie, Paul Newman's character.
Yeah.
Um, when, but like, I don't know, any other sports movie would maybe focus even more so on the Tom Cruise Vincent character. Um, but I don't know. I think I think you get more of an interior look into the Paul Newman character than you do with Vince, with Eddie.
Yeah, wasn't expecting that. I mean, going into this movie, I knew it was sort of a quasi sequel to The Hustler, right? Is that the movie?
Yes.
So I knew Paul Newman was going to be like the old mentor kind of guy, and I thought it was going to be sort of that classic
Sure, yeah.
sports movie or just movie trope or just hero's journey trope where you got like the old guy and he's gonna find this young guy who's got great talent but he doesn't know how to best utilize his talent, blah 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 blah
And
blah.
that's pretty much like the first like 2/3 of the movie, pretty
It
much.
is, yeah, and it runs exactly like that for the first two-thirds of the movie. Is Paul Newman's like, I've been out of the game so long, but he sees this young guy and it
Yeah.
brings him
What
back
happens at
in.
he brings it up in the movie, but like what happens at the end of The Hustler is that like Paul Newman essentially is so good at it that he basically is like banned by like a mobster guy to like never do it again. Like he's basically
Okay.
like yeah, like a bunch of stuff happens in the movie, and by the end of the movie, he has to like stop playing pool. Like he can never play pool in a pool hall again.
Okay. So he's like they have like a word for what he does. He like stakes people, but there's like a name for guys like him
What are you
in like
talking
pool
about?
halls. Like the people who stake other pool players, like they have a name in the movie for like the people that do that.
Oh, I don't remember that name.
I don't know the name either. But he's
Yeah,
one of
no,
those
I mean,
people.
yeah. Oh yeah, like he has like so he has like the John Turturro player at the beginning of the movie, and the John Turturro character is like he's like, oh, I got this guy in the ropes, like I'm gonna get him, da, 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 da. And and the Paul Newman character, he's like a liquor salesman. That's
Yeah.
pretty much what he does now. Um, and yeah, the John Turturro character is like, I got Tom Cruise, I got him, I got Vince. And he keeps like giving him money, and and like and basically immediately Eddie, the Paul Newman character, it immediately recognizes that Vince is an amazing pool player and that he wants to help him basically hustle. Uh um and he like immediately like he's able to recognize that he's really really good at playing pool.
Yeah, he's got that line when he's sitting there like drinking whatever he fucking sells, some sort of, it's one of the, it's like a, is it,
He's a liquor salesman. He sells liquor.
yeah, yeah, he's selling his liquor and he's facing the bar and he hears like the break and he's like, oh, that breaks just
Oh,
like a
that brake shot
like a
is so
rocket
good.
launcher or some shit.
Yeah, or some yeah, he says
It's a
something
great
like
line.
that. Yeah. Yeah. That's the best part of the movie, by the way. Well, one of the best parts of the movie is um thanks to the like great direction of Scorsese and the great editing of Thelma Schoonmaker, um the pool playing in the movie is very pleasurable. So when everybody's playing pool, it's not boring. It's really, really fun and cool to watch.
Yeah, I was skeptical about that going to the movie because like pool is a fundamentally boring sport to.
Right. Well, I would say, yeah, yeah, like most pool, if you're just like sitting there and watch a pool game, it's like, it's like, okay, like whatever. Um, but yeah, you're right. In this movie, they make it so exciting to just make it seem like the coolest thing ever. Like, how many people watch this movie and were just like, yeah, I really want to be a pool player. Like, how many like kids or teenagers saw it and were just like, man,
Oh
that is
yeah,
the coolest thing. I want to be that. I want to do that.
I want to be just like Vince.
Yeah, I want to be just like Vince. Maybe not necessarily like I don't know. Like yeah, like maybe not necessarily be like a hustler, but just like play pool and be really good at it. It just seems like the coolest thing to like be really good at.
Yeah, I feel like it's only in movies where playing pool ever looks cool because it's a fundamentally uncool thing. I mean, apologies to any of
What?
our pool playing listeners,
I
but
don't I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I
I
don't
don't
know if
think
it's
it's any
I wouldn't say it's a nerdy game.
it's
It's pretty
nerdy.
nerdy.
I mean, they'll put it on like ESPN and some shit like that sometimes, and I don't know. Even though they're like the best of the best, and they'll do like sometimes they'll have some cool shots. I mean, like when they like
Right, yeah.
hop over stuff, but most of the time it's just maybe it's just not my thing. But even if
I
it's
think I
not,
disagree with you. I think it's cool. I think the movie perfect I think I think I don't really want to play it. I don't really care all that much. But I just when I'm watching the movie, I'm just like, man, like this is cool. Like this is just the coolest. Like I'm having fun. It feels like I'm there, watching them. I don't have to like see all the boring stuff. I just see all the best stuff, you know. That's what makes the movie really great. Um
yeah. I mean,
so
it's
like
very
well,
cool in the
again,
movie.
yeah. Yeah. Like when the pool is going on, it's like, okay, like this is exciting to watch. Anyway, so Vince hustles him. Well, he kind of hustles him. He more just like, so okay,
Not
that's the thing about
really.
the movie. Yeah, he doesn't hustle him. So that's the thing about the
He's a
movie
terrible
that I think is
hustler.
great. Exactly. So the movie's interesting, and we'll get into it, but like I feel like the dynamics of Vince and Eddie are they like switch places. Their perspectives switch places from the beginning to the end of the movie, right?
Yeah.
Because you have Eddie, and he is kind of like a jaded old man, a little bit. He's rich and he's doing well, but like, he
He's grumpy. He's a
he's
grumpy old man.
he's a grumpy old man who really only cares about like making money, even though he's like an old man.
Yeah.
And Vince doesn't necessarily care too much. I mean, he cares about making money, definitely. Um, but he's more like he likes playing pool, and so like he beats John Turturro, and he's like, "Hey, let's keep playing. Can we play?" And John Turturro's like, "Play? Like, why would I play pool if it's not for money? Like, why would I do that?" But like Vince is like, no, I want to keep playing. I just want to play with anyone. I don't care. Like we
Yeah.
can play whether we play for money or not. I just want to play. Like it's fun. Um and but then Paul Newman Eddie comes in and he corrupts him essentially, and that's kind of like the movie, right?
The art. Yeah. Yeah, it's him trying to convince Vince that the only way he's ever going to make any money at pool is by basically pretending to be a bad player or sort of doing the what two brothers and a stranger is the strategy that they come up with at some point or one that
Yeah,
Paul
they do a
Newman
couple
used back in
different.
the day. They have
Yeah,
different cons, which the cons are
right, and
great. I love seeing the
right,
cons.
right. The thing about the Color of Money is that Color of Money came out in a post Rocky Four world. So there are many different montages in the movie.
There's a lot of montages.
There's quite a few. They're all really good. I would say. So like there's a really fun sort of montage where yeah, they're going to different pool halls and they're hustling people. And again, like you said, like Vince has to sort of be like they really him and his girlfriend Carmen, him being Eddie and Carmen, have to really
Yeah.
kind of like press Vince into basically kind of like giving up like his instincts, like his competitive instincts, and instead just think strategically what is the best way to make money, even if like his pride gets in the way. And so this becomes very difficult for the both of them.
Yeah, Vince his whole like need to show how amazing he is at pool and just
Because
like
he is
this
really good.
desire because I mean he is really good
He
but
doesn't want
like
to
his
lose.
yeah his desire to just be everyone all of the time is kind of what kind of fucks him up the first half of the movie is every time like they start hustling right every time they go to a city and they're like all right we're
Let's
finally
do it. We're gonna
getting
do this
into
and this and
things
this and
we're
this
gonna
and this. Yeah. Yeah, we're
and
gonna
he
do all these
immediately
things in
screws it
order.
up.
Yeah. Yeah, like there's that first pool hall that they go to where they're like, look, that guy has all them that guy, he's the best in the hall, but
Hmm.
that guy you need to get, he's telling him all this stuff. and like they play pool together, right? The thing too about Eddie is that Eddie, for some reason, he's a very emotional character. So they play pool together, and he beats Paul Newman, and he gets upset and he runs away for some reason. He's just kind of like, because I think like Vince is kind of taunting him a little bit, and he's just like, "Fuck
Yeah.
you, I'm out of here." Um, and you have that amazing moment. I think it's one of the best moments in the movie where he's driving back to the pool hall because he realized Vince went back with like his special
His
pool cue,
special.
like a very very special pool cue, and like they're playing the Warren Zevon song, and like Tom Cruise is
Yeah.
like Vincent is destroying the like the one guy with the cowboy hat, and he's like dancing
Hmm.
to the Warren Zevon song. That's one of the greatest moments in all of cinema history. It's so cool. Like to me, like that. Here's the thing about the movie too. Movies like this, you could easily make it a metaphor about like acting, like where you have Paul Newman, who's the seasoned actor who's been in many movies, and you have Tom Cruise, who's on the come up. He's got the juice. And so you bring them together. And I just feel like there's kind of like this, like you could, I think, easily make it a metaphor about like acting. Um, and like stardom or something like that. And the scene where he's dancing to the Zevon song is just like yeah, like Tom Cruise, he's got the juice. Like he's really cool. Like I'm very convinced of him and his I don't know, I'm just like really convinced of his I just like him. I just really, really
Yeah.
even when he's like acting like an asshole, I can't help but like feel like incredibly entertained.
Yeah, there's this very real animosity between our characters here that feels almost deeper than just the movie, which I mean it
Yeah.
could be
Like yeah.
because I mean like Tom Cruise, he got his start really young, and at this point he's because this is like right around the time of Top Gun, right? This is like right.
Probably right around, this is definitely post risky business, right?
Yeah, it's post Risky
And
Business.
post risky business.
Let me
And
see.
Top Gun came out in
86.
so same year. Wow, same year. I don't know which came first, but I mean, like, yeah, I mean that's a big year. Like that is like
Oh
a
yeah.
big huge year for him. Color of Money. Risky Business came out in '83, and then yeah, like Top Gun, Color of Money. Um, a couple years later, he's in Rain Man, which is a huge movie. Which
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, like you know,
So,
big
so
year
he's
for
like,
him very early on.
yeah, he's the up and coming guy. And then you got Paul Newman, who's been in movies for fucking forever by this point.
Yeah, a lot.
And there seems beyond just the movie like this genuine bitterness, which I mean would be the case with any sort of seasoned athlete or artist that is sort of training these underlings or has work because you're kind of seeing your especially in the world of sort of film where like stardom is such a big part of being an actor, and so your stardom's kind of being pulled away and you're no longer getting like the young cool hip guy. Now you're like the old man who's
You're
just
the
like
old season guy. But
yeah,
but like Paul Newman he still has the juice. I mean,
he
that's why he
has
won
the
the Oscar,
juice.
right? He's got the juice. I see what you mean. It's kind of a weird, this is the most interesting part of the movie for sure, is like the dynamic between the two. I have to say that the weakest parts of the movie are their separate relationships. Like so like
Yes.
Cruz's relationship with his girlfriend, and Paul Newman and Vince's Vince's relationship with his girlfriend, and Eddie's relationship with his girlfriend.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the movie, they try to do kind of like this, like a love triangle thing between the three of them,
Which
Vince,
is
his
weird,
girlfriend, Carmen, and Eddie. I don't think it's weird. It's just kind of like they kind of get it
I
started and
guess.
going, and then they just kind of like abandon it.
Yes.
It just doesn't. It kind of doesn't really go anywhere. It's not necessarily like I'm not. It's not like terrible. It's just kind of like okay. Like
It's
to
not
me,
great.
it's the least interesting part of the movie.
Yeah.
Even though she's good, everybody's good in it.
She's great in it. I think she does a great job.
Um, she's funny, she's good. Um, but again, like it's just kind of there, and then it's whatever, I guess. I don't know.
I think
I'm glad
Martin
that she's.
Scorsese,
Yeah.
yeah.
Sorry. Continue. No, continue.
Well, I was gonna say that I think Martin Scorsese, 1980s Martin Scorsese had a real problem directing women. Like I think of all the movies
But
that
After
he
Hours is
released in
good.
the 80s.
After Hours has so
After
many
Us is
great
good,
like performances by women in it.
but they're all like side characters. Like they're never,
I
you know
guess.
what I mean? Like they're just there to kind of move the plot along. Like they never have their kind of own thing. That's not true of Scorsese now. I don't think. Now I kind of
What are
have
you
to think
talking
a
about?
moment.
They're all like dudes. All these movies are like helmed by
I know.
dudes. It's Leonardo DiCaprio all the way through.
I'm trying to think like if it's any different now, but I'm thinking like, well, no, like
No,
Gangsters of
it's
New
not at
York
all.
or he's a very manly director, which is
Yeah, it's just
fine.
like dudes.
But
I mean, like, yeah, I
I think
guess.
his like
Yeah.
female
Casino has a
characters are
great
always kind of
performance.
uninteresting.
Yeah. Well, I will say that like his movie Casino, which is maybe my favorite Scorsese movie, contains probably the greatest performance by Sharon Stone. She's very,
Okay.
very good in it. So
Yeah.
I think he's able to do it. And you know, I saw Raging Bull recently, and that has some amazing performances too by
It's
women.
been a while since I've seen
Um,
Raging Bull.
that was a great movie.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's a great movie. And you know, King of Comedy though, too. You just mentioned King of Comedy. Sandra Bernhard is really funny in that movie.
She
See, I'm
is.
destroying you.
You're destroying all my
I
points.
win. But I'm kidding though. I see your point.
Yeah, yeah.
Every movie he's ever made has a male lead in it. That's just the way it is, I guess.
Just the
Yeah.
Scorsese way.
And with Color of Money again, like the romantic relationships are not very interesting compared to the dynamic between Cruz and Newman. They're really good
Right.
together. They really nail it. Yeah.
I mean, I think Vince's girlfriend is like a really intriguing part of the piece, but kind of like you were
No, yeah,
saying,
it's fine.
it doesn't feel like they do anything with her, or like she's not given her like sort of thing to do. And in that, which is weird because at the beginning of the movie, that's kind of like part of the whole thing is like he's teaching her
Well,
how to like run the
yeah.
hustle.
Well, I like that too. No, I like that. It's just I think that they try to do like this like love triangle thing, and it for some reason and it kind of just peters out. I like all that stuff where he like that happens at the beginning of the movie, right? Where he clocks her. You know, he clocks
Yeah,
Vince and he's just like, okay, Vince is awesome. And then Eddie clocks Carmen and is like, you know, you really don't know how to hustle people, do you? You know, so I
exactly.
like that stuff. I like that stuff a lot where he is not only teaching Vince, but he's
Yeah,
also
yeah.
teaching her. And they have like they have the dynamic, right? Like to like I don't think Vince could do much without Carmen
Hmm.
and Carmen needs Vince, you know. I like the story that Vince tells where how they met. That's like a funny story, like within the movie that he tells about like how like they met because like Carmen and her ex-boyfriend tried to like rob Vince's like parents or something like that. Like
Yeah.
that's really, really funny. Um I like all this stuff with her with like trying to like her like part in the hustle. Um, but you know, it's just kind of I don't know. Like I said, the love triangle stuff is just kind of uninteresting to me. And ultimately, again, the dynamic between Newman and Cruz is really what it's all about.
Yeah. And as we're going through the movie, you kind of see all of the classic tropes. You know, they do the montages. He's learning how to
Yep.
hustle. He screws up a couple of times, but then they go to a new city and they kind of like get things down, right? They're kind of figuring things out.
Yeah, they're
And then
making money.
you have this weird moment, like two-thirds of the way of the movie, where Paul Newman decides that he's gonna go play some pool. Like he just wants to get back into the game.
It's like so like that part like by the way, did you notice the Iggy Pop cameo? I've seen this movie before. Did you notice that?
Where?
He's what it's like he's in the montage of when they're hustling. And Iggy Pop is like in it. He's
I
wearing
did not
like a
notice.
20,000 foot women poster or something like that on his shirt. It's like a
Oh,
movie poster shirt.
yeah, yeah.
That's Iggy Pop, which I don't think I noticed that the first
Wild.
time, but I noticed it this second watch and I was just like, "Oh, that's Iggy Pop. Okay. All right." Um that surprised me. I didn't know that. Anyway, um yeah, and then they have that moment where like Vince, they go to a pool hall and then what, right? Like that scene's so good where that scene also has a montage in it where um they tell Vince like, okay, that guy is the best in the pool hall. If you lose to him, if you play him and lose to him, that'll signal that that you suck or something like that.
Right.
And so people will want to play you. Um and Vince is like, okay, and he goes and plays him, but they keep playing and playing and playing. And I could be wrong, but doesn't he ultimately um I could be wrong, but I think Vince like loses in the end. I think he loses to that guy.
Are you talking
Even
about
after like
which? There's a lot of pool playing in this movie. Are you talking about the one where he plays the guy who's going to be in Atlantic City?
well, there's a couple guys like that. I'm the guy who's going to Atlantic City. Yeah.
But
Like
they're
the
the guy they're playing because like they want to lower his odds or
yeah.
raise his odds, lower his odds. They want to make the odds bigger so they can bet on him in Atlantic City.
I think that's the idea. Yeah. I think like it's the guy who talks shit.
Yeah,
It's like he's the guy who's like I feels like a nightmare or whatever. That's who I'm talking about. And he keeps like
yeah.
playing him. He like
Yeah,
and so
he
it's like this montage of like and they're not saying anything and they're just watching and stuff. And I think yeah, Cruz ultimately loses, right? I think he does.
yes, because he starts because they play like multiple games because
Yeah, they play.
apparently like in the world of pool you don't play one game, you play like a number of games. I
Yeah,
don't know
yeah,
how
yeah.
many it is.
Because it's like nine ball. It's like I think it goes by quickly if like if you're good at it, like
Right.
a game of nine ball just like goes like that,
It's like a
So I
couple
think
of
you just
minutes. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
So yeah, he plays them and like in the first round he lets the guy win, but then like the guy starts talking shit talking and Vincent,
yeah,
with his pride and all his shit, can't handle it. So he starts like crushing him and
yeah. Like they're going back and forth.
they're going back and forth and he's like starting to win. And even if he doesn't like crush him, just the fact that like he's even close will lower their odds in Atlantic City. And they need the high odds so they can bet on him and make a bunch of money.
Right.
And so Vince's girlfriend has this great line where he's like playing the game and she walks up to him and she says, if you don't lose this next game, the
Yeah.
only thing you're going to be humping is your
Yeah.
hand.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Right, yeah, yeah. And he dumps it. Yeah, as I say, like he dumps
He
it, he
dumps it.
loses, and Grady is the guy's name. The
Right.
guy who's playing. Um, yeah, and so through that, Paul Newman is like inspired to play pool again,
Mm-hmm.
and he hasn't done it for a while. So this part of the movie is very interesting and very unexpected, right? Like because it's almost kind of like it's like kind of like this opposite thing where it's like, you know, Paul Newman is like almost tired of being a teacher and he's like, no, I want to play again.
I did
Like,
not expect this. This was a
isn't
very
it crazy?
big twist. Like I had no idea this was going to happen. It just went a completely
Yeah.
different direction than I expected.
Honestly, at this point forward, Vince and Carmen aren't are are kind of like they almost become unimportant.
They do.
They're I mean they're important, but it's just like again, like the movie kind of shifts to this to a thing that's it's about something else now
It's so
entirely.
strange.
Where like yeah, Paul Newman starts to like he goes and he's like drinking at this at this pool hall and he's playing people and stuff and he's like talking to them and he's just playing them for
He's
money. He's
doing the
not like
classic hustle.
hustling.
Yeah,
Well,
he's just playing. I
yeah,
don't
he's
think
just
he's
like
really
playing for
hustling.
money.
He's just like playing.
No.
Yeah.
But then he goes to the Lawrence Fishburne character who's great. That guy hustles the fuck out of him, right? And they
The
have that
Forrest
great
Whitaker.
oh yeah, I'm getting them mixed up. Forrest Whitaker, sorry.
Yeah,
I get those I get their names mixed up. Yeah, the Forrest Whitaker character like completely hustles him badly.
Oh yeah.
Um, and he's like embarrassed. And like he and like Vince, they like yell at each other, and he's like, you know what? Like I'm done. Take all this money and like leave. And they have like this big thing, and that's a great moment in the movie where he like
Great
gets
moment.
hustled hard.
Forrest Whitaker is great in this. Like
Yeah,
he's a
he's
small
like in it for
role, but
two
it's a
minutes.
perfect. It's a perfect
Yeah,
two
he's really good.
minutes.
Yeah, I agree with you.
but he gets hustled bad, and he's so pissed. Like he, Paul Newman's character is basically just like a giant baby. Like he cannot handle any
Yeah, he's
sort
like really
of
emotional for some
wrongdoing.
reason.
I don't know why. He's a very emotional character. Everything's like the biggest deal in the world, and he's so upset that he basically like throws
He's like
Vince
drunk
and his girlfriend out.
too.
Yeah, and that's like the last time we see them until like the end of the movie,
That's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's but at the tournament, right?
which
Yeah,
is
and
wild.
yeah, they disappear, and Paul Newman basically is like, I want to play in the Atlantic City tournament, and so you get like a training montage
Great
where he like,
montage.
yeah, amazing montage where like he plays like the guy in the cowboy hat, and he loses, and then you get the montage of him playing up into the pool hall. He's beating everybody. He's training. He's like practicing. He's getting like better and better. He's kind of like getting a little bit less rusty.
Mhm.
And he keeps like, beating people and beating people. And then he's going to Atlantic City. And the Atlantic City tournament is kind of like the last
It's like the big
part of the
thing.
movie. Yeah, it's the big tournament. It's the big game, the championship game.
Exactly.
It's very, very sports movie like.
Mhm.
Um And but again, it's very unexpected where you're just kind of like, oh, because like I don't know, like Paul Newman almost serves as like a coach character, right?
Right.
But then he ends up being part of the tournament. He ends up being a competitor.
Which is wild, and at this point, like I'm thrown off my seat a little bit 'cause this is not the direction I went to go. And by the way, that moment where like he has to get his glasses and they do that like nice push in where like they're checking his eye.
Yeah.
Perfect moment. That's
Oh,
cinema at its best. Oh my god, great moment and great glasses too. Like those glasses look fucking awesome.
yeah, he gets the glasses. It's so cool.
So cool. And so he's going to the tournament. So I'm like, okay, I think I understand like the direction they're going to go, right? They're going to go to the tournament and they're going to have their face off. And even though Eddie, our Paul Newman character, is the better character, he's going to realize that this isn't about him and he's going to let, Vince's character win. And,
Yeah.
everyone's going to be
No, he doesn't give
happy.
a fuck. He
That,
wants to
that
win
doesn't
really
fucking happen at
badly.
all.
No, no, Eddie is like he wants to win. Like he doesn't care about Vince. He wants to
He doesn't
be
give a
he's like
shit.
he's like kind of selfish. Like he wants to be on top. It's great. Yeah, I love that part. Yeah, where they're like yeah, they're playing all the different tournament games and stuff like that, and they get to the fine. It's like one of the final games, not the final game, but it's like the
It's like the,
semifinals with like
yeah.
Vince and Paul, and that whole thing is really amazing. Like the way that game is like filmed and edited is just so cool. And he beats Vince. Well, sort of, kind of.
He kind of beats him. And what's great is the way this is edited is you can kind of see a couple of moments where like why did Vince miss that shot?
Yeah.
Like it's very well
Yup.
shot where you're like, wait a minute, like something's just a
I
little
thought
bit off. Like it doesn't make sense.
Wait, how did he miss? Because yeah, we're convinced at this point that Vince is like the greatest pool player. Like he can like beat anyone. He's like they have to like rein him in throughout the. They have to rein him in all the time in the movie to not destroy every player that he plays.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're just kind of like, oh, he's being beat. And when he beats him, it's kind of anticlimactic, right? It's like he like Vince, he doesn't say anything. He just acts dejected and like walks away. And
Hmm.
at this point, Paul Newman's like, his girlfriend is back, right? And so they're hanging out. And I just love that scene where he comes in, he's like, here's your cut. Like it's just so it's so devastating.
Oh man, that one is. I mean, just the look on Paul Newman's face, and just the fact that like Vince doesn't get it at all. He's like, I don't get it. Like we hustled, like we
Yeah,
did the hustle.
yeah, Paul Newman doesn't say a word. Again, so this is what I was saying earlier in the movie. The dynamics have changed, right? Because Vince at the beginning of the movie is like, oh, I just want to play. I just want to play
He
pool.
just wants to
Playing pool
win.
is fun. And Paul Newman at this point has taught him everything he knows about hustling and making money in pool. And now Paul Newman and now Eddie is like, fuck that. Like I just want to play pool. Like
Hmm.
I don't really care about money. I just want to like win. I want to like I'm good at it, and I just want to like beat people and like be as good as I can possibly be at this game that I've spent a lot of time playing. Um, but yeah, and it's like yeah, and it's devastating because he's just like, I thought, I thought I won this game. I
Yeah,
wasn't even in it at all. I didn't really know till now that like you were pretending that you
that
like
would
dumped
dump.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah. So like it's like the dynamics have changed, and yeah, that kind of thing like makes this movie like way more interesting than it maybe could have been made by anyone else,
yeah,
writing and directing wise.
yeah. That direction, I did not expect that. And then him winning, and then the dump, and then the way that Eddie, Paul Newman's character, goes back and starts to play his next game, and then just right in
Yeah.
the middle, he just like puts his shit away and just fucking leaves.
Because it doesn't feel right. He
Yeah,
didn't he didn't win it like honestly.
which is such a strange character arc for Eddie. Like I did not see that being the character arc at
He
all.
has the biggest arc in the movie.
It's wild.
Oh, it's so good. And like, yeah, then Carmen and Vince, they're just kind of like, here, take the money, take the money. I love too when he gives him the money, like as he's walking away in front of everyone. That's just a beautiful moment.
It's a
I
great
love that
moment.
moment. It cracks me up. And yeah, he's like walking away and like they keep trying to like give him the money, just like it's your cut, like whatever, man. Like just take it. And he's like, no, like fuck that. Like I don't care. Um, and they're just like it was like a lot of money too. It's like $8,000 or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, and uh we kind of sped to the end of the movie, but like I love the ending of the movie where like they like go into the green room, right, of where they are,
Hmm.
and Eddie's just like, let's fucking just play for real. Like let's do it, I don't care. Um and he's like, and they have that great like they had just had that great back and forth where Eddie is just like, if I don't beat you now, I'll beat you next year or the year
It's
after
in
that or
Houston
whatever.
or in
I'll beat you Houston
Phoenix
or
or
whatever.
whatever.
Yeah, whatever. And he's just like what me and like I love like Vince is just like, what makes you say that? And he's like, I'm back. And like you never like
And that's
like it
the
just
end of
goes
the
to
movie
credits. It's so cool. I just love that ending because it's just you never really like know who's better because it doesn't really matter
because it doesn't matter.
because Paul Newman now has kind of like this new like I guess lease on life, I guess, or like this
Yeah.
new kind of like um I don't know, he just kind of has like this new purpose, right? Where instead of just like thinking about money, he's thinking about something like way bigger than money, which is like greatness, like being like really good at like a thing like playing pool,
Yeah.
where he can like really show off his like skills and not worry about like um again, not worry about money. Like he doesn't care about money anymore. He cares about like doing the best that you can against someone who's also doing the best that you can and possibly beating them.
Yeah.
To him, it's like it's like that's what the movie's all about is his realization of that.
Did not expect it. I mean,
Yeah,
I love it. It's great. And the fact that the movie becomes a Paul Newman movie and not a Tom Cruise movie is perfect. It's wonderful. And you really have to give it up to our editor here, which of course one of Martin Scorsese's longest, probably the
yeah,
person
Shoemaker,
that
yeah,
he's worked with the longest, right? Of
yeah,
anyone he's worked with.
still does.
They still does. Yeah. I mean, especially like during this era, during like the 80s, I feel like so much of his movies are made in the edit. And I feel like his movies could be very different without someone who's so competent at editing. I mean, he was a good
Yeah,
director then and he's a great director now, but like the editing really makes this movie because it is so many montages and just like the way we tell the story. I mean, without just this spectacular editing style and just ability to make Pool look really cool, I mean, you
yeah,
really couldn't do it without her. It's just really incredible.
yeah. I'm a really really big fan of it. I think it's a really good movie. I just like um I don't know. I just really enjoy you could argue it's like I guess like light um Scorsese, right? Like it's just kind of
Yeah.
like a boilerplate sports movie, but even then like it still hits so hard. Like when you finish it and he's like, "I'm back." It's just like, man, that's just a great moment. There's so many good moments. Um and I don't know. It's hard to argue with its I think you can argue that like yeah, like among his works it's maybe his least like important, like
Mm,
especially if you were compare it to something as lofty as like Casino or Killers of the Flower Moon.
sure.
Um, but I think that this is fine. Like I think it's still effective, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah. It does the Scorsese thing. I mean, it's very
Yeah,
much a Scorsese movie. It's right in that era. It's got all the things you want from Scorsese. So we put in our final thoughts.
sure.
All right. Do you want to go first or should I?
You can go first.
Okay. So, like I've been saying throughout this podcast episode, I was expecting a very specific type of movie. We've talked about The Color of Money a couple of different times on the podcast. I had some pretty general ideas of Scorsese during his time. I'd seen most of his stuff around this era. I kind of had the sort of sports biopic sort of thing going in. I knew sort of the tropes. I expected Paul Newman to be your classic coach who raises a young Vince and teaches him how to be a good hustler and blah 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 blah. And then at the end of the day, they all learn how to be better people and so on and so forth. And then that
Yeah,
moment where Paul Newman plays Forrest Whitaker and they just fucking abandon
yeah,
Vince and his girlfriend. Like they're just gone for like 90% of the rest of the movie. It's such a weird and perfect direction to take this movie. And I did not expect it all. And I would not expect going into this movie that it would move in that direction. And I can't really think of like a good example of a film that does something similar where we just kind of sort of totally shift. And I love this idea you were talking about where our Vince and Eddie characters sort of flip flop, where at the beginning of the film, Vince is sort of like this great player who needs to learn how to hustle, and Eddie is this great hustler who needs to learn how to play. And by the end of the movie, like Eddie just wants to win, and Vince only cares about the hustle. It's this really great and strange juxtaposition that I wasn't really expecting. So incredible overall, great needle drops as always when it comes to Scorsese. Beautiful editing, some really great footage. They make pool look exciting, which I still argue is not a cool sport in my mind. Maybe it's just because I'm really bad at pool. I mean, I'm terrible at
I've never
pool,
played and I
but
will never play it.
you've never played pool like in your like ever? Like not even
I
like at
don't
like a
I,
bar or anything?
I don't go to bars, so it's not really like something that I'm around.
Wow. It's fascinating. It's boring. It's not, I don't know. Maybe it's more exciting
I'd
to
rather play a video game or something. I'd rather play stock car.
Yeah, I feel that. But some really great performances. I mean, of course, Paul Newman's incredible in this, as is Tom Cruise. So I'm gonna give this a very strong 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I'll give it an 8 out of 10 too. It's just the color of money. Ultimately like, the Newman Cruise dynamic is really what it's all about. And then again, like you said, kind of like the shift in the movie's energy and like attention is also really interesting. And it's just a good kind of like mid 80s sports Scorsese movie. Um, and it looks good, it sounds good, it's exciting, it's well put together. I don't really have like a lot of bad things to say about it. It's just, again, you could say it's light Scorsese or whatever, but it's a pretty inconsequential story.
Mm.
Um, but whatever. It's it's so good. So yeah, 8 out of 10.
All right, y'all. Thank you for listening. You can find everything I do at Austin Lugo 12.
Yeah, I'm on Letterbox at Retro Andrew, RETR0 Andrew.
And you can find this podcast wherever you hear podcasts. You also find us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at With Nothing to Say, or through our Patreon, where you can get our exclusive after show at ltfproduction.patreon.com. And thank you all for listening.
Thanks.